Greetings and welcome to the Grab by the Ghoulies Pacifist Challenge, where I attempt to murder the least amount physically necessary in Grab by the Ghoulies. We pick up right where we left off last time, in the kitchen, where it seems Chef has accidentally let in several flaming imps, as I'm sure has happened to most people out there. She then urges us to use the fire extinguisher to take them out. However, that would ruin the point of the challenge if we did, as we are trying not to hurt enemies. Even after politely asking Chef to do it herself so we cannot be murderers, she stands there and takes fireballs to the face. Ultimately, after quite a lot of testing, I determined that there really is no way to do this level Pacifist, unfortunately, so you just have to kill all the imps. Now, the Scullery is an interesting level, as it is the first time we are introduced to the Grim Reaper, who, oh boy, will come in very handy later. In the end, the good news for this one though is, after waiting out a short 25-second timer, the Grim Reaper comes and takes care of the zombie for you, meaning you can leave. And we get to stay our innocent, saintly pacifist selves, as long as you ignore the fact we just murdered 10 imps in the previous room. Also, an innocent spider life is lost due to Mr. Reaper. However, those annoying creatures deserve it due to what I had to go through to record the footage later in this video. Next up is the lower corridors, which is ultimately free, as you can just walk out and there really isn't any obstacles in your way. I will say though, if Rareware put half as much effort into making levels that you actually have to do stuff instead of just walking through, as they put into making parts of the game that play no actual role, like this weird moaning ogre, this game might have sold more than 75 or so copies. Leaving that area, you have one of the most memorable in the entire game, in my opinion, the Embassy Ballroom, which has anything you could ever want. Dancing skeletons and zombies, a mummy DJ, and a killer beat you get to listen to the whole way through. It is obvious, though, that the enemies on the dance floor are quite sensitive, as if you touch one of them, they immediately go to wanting to murder you. So, don't touch any of them and you should be fine. Next up, we find ourselves in the conservatory, where we encounter the ninja imps, who are constantly mumbling in this obnoxious language they have crafted. Not only are their voices extremely grating, we have to kill one of them to be able to leave. Now, this wouldn't be as much of a problem if there was any way to summon the Grim Reaper, or if they weren't so short that they can't attack each other properly. Even if they were tall enough to attack each other just from a standing position, the one that holds the key doesn't attack at all, meaning that there's no chance for him to be hurt by the others. After much experimentation, I wound up concluding that there really is no way to do this pacifist, and wound up killing one ninja imp, which is 15 damage added to the counter. Next up, we head over to the boathouse, where we receive a water gun, which we will do nothing more with than simply take for a joyride around a few levels. And going into the boathouse, you can just leave, because the creators didn't care enough to even make you try out your new weapon, which kills zombies quickly. Coming into the lighthouse store, we see Medusa for the first time, who usually walks around and looks for the player to attack. But there has been no one in here for hours, presumably, meaning I can only assume she's been monitoring the dust particles on the floor this entire time. The next room, which is probably where Fiddlesworth stays, which also means he probably never cleans, Lighthouse Living Quarters, and the Lighthouse Lantern Room, are both levels you can just walk in and out of. Very creative game design, Rareware. Going back into this huge biohazard that someone obviously calls a bedroom, we actually do have to enlist the Grim Reaper's help. Upon trying to leave, we are told that we must defeat 10 zombies, which somehow have crammed themselves in a locker and a toilet, which makes me think that Fiddlesworth needs some serious medical help. After they reveal themselves from their amazing hiding spots, we also receive a timer for 50 seconds. Once that timer is up, though, the Grim Reaper comes and can help us out. Once we leave what I am giving the award of most disgusting room in the game to, Fillsworth is very eager to take back his water gun. I guess I can say it was interesting to have one less hand at my disposal as I carried around this children's toy through 4 different rooms. So, thanks. Re-entering the boathouse, I once again suffer at the fact that small enemies have no strong attack, which means they can't finish off any enemies. This time in the boathouse, Rareware decide they actually want to give us something to do instead of sightseeing rooms. A ghoulie who somehow has worse posture than I do enters, who we must defeat. Usually this would be bad and add a lot of damage to our counter. However, there are some conveniently placed imps which can take care of most of the job for us. The one issue, as mentioned earlier, is they cannot finish him off, meaning we must do the final 1 damage. The downtime was somewhat nice, as it gave me a chance to appreciate all of the break animations that these objects had, that some poor employee had to program in despite almost no one ever seeing half of them. Once I make sure not to hurt any of my imp friends and kick this moaning moron onto his back, we can leave this room and add 1 damage and 1 kill to our counter. Going into the dining room, it seemed to take every fiber of my emulator's being to not simply crash and burn. Every time it had to load in more than 3 pirates, I was just sure it was about ready to give up. Fortunately though, the level in and of itself is trivial, as the pirates can easily kill each other, and for the final one you can get the friendly skeletons to do that for you. I wish there was more to say and show about this level, as it is more enemy heavy than your typical extremely easy level. However, there really just isn't. Back in the embassy ballroom, it's basically just a repeat of last time, just with more enemies. So, I have to open up this big speaker with the mummy in it, so he will go clear out the way. Also, I must say it is very nice of the zombies and skeletons to simply not care as they and their friends are brutalized by a raging mummy. I guess the rhythm really did get them. And now, I just want to congratulate the lower corridors on winning first place and being the most boring area in the game. Not only can you just walk through it upon the first visit, but you can just walk through it upon the second, except this time with amazing shin-kicking action. Now, visiting the scullery for the second time was nothing more than frustrating. Despite the Grim Reaper being present this time around as well, the requirement for him to come was designed in a mind-bogglingly stupid way. Even though it would make perfect sense for this little symbol to mean, hey, don't hurt the imps at all, that's not what it means. It instead specifically means, hey, you, player, you may not land a finishing blow on any imps. This is annoying since, because of the stupid way this is designed, I have to do a single damage, that being the finishing blow to one of the imps after they lower each other's health to summon the Grim Reaper, so that he may kill the zombies. Levels where I have to do a measly 1 damage are infinitely more infuriating than ones where I have to do a little bit more, because I was so close yet so far to doing them completely pacifist. I guess the one good thing I got out of this level was watching the Grim Reaper torch this imp for existing after it nibbled on Cooper's brain for a moment. And I'm not sure if I'm disappointed with the laziness it demonstrates or happy that it can be done pacifist, but there's nothing to do in the kitchen and you can simply walk out. The same can also be said about the freezer. Then we get to go to the... Oh. Just why? So, the garbage yard was kind of a nightmare that took me 4 or so hours to play and actually do pacifists. But I'm sure that all 0 people who've made it this far into the video, who I hope have hit the like and subscribe button, don't care about watching more than a couple minutes of this. So, we're gonna speedrun this crap and make it look like I'm insanely good, because I'm just going to show you the winning attempt and explain how I did it. However, don't doubt the fact that I died a lot of times doing this. So, what does a winning run of the Garbage Yard and Grab by the Ghoulies Pacifist Challenge look like? Asked no one ever. But I will show and explain it anyway. I start out by making sure to destroy these garbage bins, mostly as a preventative measure so I have more room to move around, and less chance for me to get stuck and the Reaper to catch me in an unfortunate spot. Something this did make me think about, though, is that Cooper is either ridiculously strong for a child, or everything in this mansion is built weaker than my will to live. I start out by rounding up all the spiders and making them attack each other until one of them is at a single health. As I discussed before, no enemy in this game can die without a strong attack being landed on them. This allows me to hit the spider with a single health with a light attack, dealing no damage. The reason I want to do this is because the rule for this room is I must use weapons. If I do not use a weapon on an enemy, then the Grim Reaper comes. And the Grim Reaper is the only reason why this room can be done pacifist. After that first part is done, I summon Mr. Reaper himself by punching that little spider, and this is where the fun begins. Now, for the next several thousand years, I get to run around this dumpster. That's it. The reason being, when the spiders jump up to attack me, if they happen to be right in front of the Reaper, he can occasionally hit them. This is how gaming was meant to be. After what I will call Wave 1, the 12 spiders the Grim Reaper just defeated, is over and done with, I get to deal with Wave 2 of this truly obnoxious experience. Honestly though, after running around a dumpster for a while, Wave 2 feels like divine enlightenment and inner peace, since you just pick up the Mini Cooper cans and they basically deal with it themselves. And the little Coopers are so much more reliable since they are actually designed to help you out, unlike Mr. Reaper. The reason I specifically chose to pick up the Mini-Me's later instead of in the first wave is due to the second wave of spiders having a second ability, which is to spit webbing on the floor. Logically, if you add a second ability to an enemy where the Reaper can't hurt them when they're doing it, it makes it a lot harder and less likely for the Reaper to actually kill them. Originally, I was picking up the Mini-Me's during the first phase because it felt like immediate progress, but this just turned out to be overall better. Once Death himself, who's surprisingly bad at killing things, finishes off the last spider from Phase 2, I get to move on to the third and final phase. At this point, I had only been this far once before, and this had happened, so I was quite stressed and really hoped this would be the last time I'd have to do this level. I do want to show this insanely close encounter I had during this attempt. I would have been quite mad if I died, but due to my 10 years of pure Grab by the Ghoulies experience, I avoided it. One more instance of almost getting cornered later, and a couple good spider kills, and it was finally over. I was free. Nothing could really describe the amount of peace I felt being able to walk out that door. But oh yeah, did things get worse in the future. But all that is for a different video. I'm going to leave it off here, and if you actually made it to the end of the video, I am beyond shocked. If that is the case, you obviously enjoyed something about it, or you just didn't care enough to turn it off and haven't been paying attention for the last 10 minutes. But either way, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button if you want to see future videos in this series. I have a lot more footage already recorded and videos planned. So, I hope you all have a great day, and I hope to see you next time.